What's up, graphic designers? Happy Friday. Welcome to day 2 of this podcast cover art project. Here we've got Wiley's Lit Crazy podcast, and I like it, but you know what? We could have probably designed something like this in like the beginning or maybe the middle of September. I'm looking for you to elevate your game and apply some blending modes as we have here by Sebastian. And you know what? One of the things I really like about this is like the composition. I like where the logo is situated. I like the color scheme. I like how you broke up the text. There's a lot of really fun stuff going on here, and I like how Braid is off center. Right, he's like not half, but a fraction of his face is sort of truncated. And yet this is also a strong and clear visual. Jake, did you do this? This looks awesome. Nice job, James. 2Ps in a podcast. This is something I would definitely listen to. And I can see that the host's name are clearly legible. Two dudes and the side piece. This is amusing. I do think that Clayton, I think your head, along with AG and Adam, I think your head should be a little bit bigger. But this is playful and fun. Blue Ballin podcast official cover. Thanks, Derek, for clearing some things up. I like where you're going with this. And here's another example. I'm not sure, Sebastian, how I feel about Berets sitting on top of that fist. And here we've got AG's. I really like this a lot, and one of the things I really appreciate about it is he applied something called the threshold effect. So if you click on image adjust threshold, you can create something that looks a little bit like this. But I will say to AG and everyone that I made some small revisions. So here's the example that he submitted, and then here is another version that he may choose or not choose to adopt. You'll notice that in contrast with what he submitted were the hosts' names. I like the font, but they're kind of hard to read. I situated in the bottom. We got the red and white, so a little bit more contrast. The red, I don't necessarily love this font, but the red here is a little bit tricky to like make heads or tails of, and this podcast in red, I'm not entirely loving that font as well. So we're going to be experimenting. You're going to be thinking about what you can do to improve, tweak, refine. And I actually got a little bit of inspiration from this one, this pink cover I was actually stumbled across earlier today. I got these photos and I was able to create something silly. I just made this super quick, and I think this is the lab podcast where students talk about their feelings, because that would make sense, right? And so I got a couple things going on right here. You can notice I got the Linear Bird podcast, Linear Bird blending mode, and I actually have two blending modes going on right here. So I've got one on top and one on the bottom. And so the L, when you get rid of the L on the top, you'll notice that, okay, when we hide the L on the bottom, I think, okay, this blending mode, I ultimately did 80% opacity with multiply. And you know what it was? I was experimenting. I was thinking about like what looks, I think, kind of cool. And I think originally I had something that looks a little bit like this, and then I added the L behind Zach. So it was a little bit more apparent. There's some greater contrast. I added a stroke to some of these letters. I'm not really sure if it's needed. I don't know how I feel about it. But you know what? We're experimenting. This is part of the process. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do. We're going to take some inspiration from AG, who's finding inspiration all over the place. I want you to find a high-quality professional podcast and then reimagine it just like we've been doing all year. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.